So we all know that Leeds United are likely to be busy in the transfer window this January, at least we all kind of hope so, and Leeds are already being linked with a hell of a lot of different moves. So in video number 2 of the day, I know, don't I treat you guys, I thought I'd do something covering the main sort of rumours at the minute. You might have heard a couple of these, but that's fine. I'll be running through why we're rumoured to be linked with these players, what the players are like, and ultimately whether or not I think a move looks sort of viable. And one of them has a pretty big new reason to be a little bit more viable. But I'm going to start with the one that I think is the most outside shot of the outside shots, and that is the fact that it has been reported by Team Talk that Leeds are linked with signing Artem Dovbyk. He's a Ukrainian striker who is currently playing for Roma in Serie A, and I say playing for Roma as the loosest possible term. He has scored 2 goals this season in 10 games of football. You might look at that and you might be like, that's not a brilliant return for a striker. There is a reason for it, and the reason for that is the fact that he's played a grand total of 327 minutes this season. All of the stats that I give you right now, by the way, will be league only. A couple of later people have like Europa League minutes and stuff, but let's be honest, those don't count in the same way. You're more likely to be rested against relative minnows. We'll get to it. I want to get this one out of the way relatively early because I will be honest, this is one that I feel isn't the most likely. I'm going to save that one for the end. But this feels a little bit agent chatty because multiple stories coming out from multiple sources at the same time, all of which say something along the lines of our website understands, i.e., they've gotten it from a source. It feels very agent chat because he's also being offered to West Ham at the same time, and let's be honest, even if it was between us making a move for him and West Ham making a move for him, West Ham are moving on Nicholas Fulkrug right now. They have a slot available for a striker. You could say that we do as well, but with Dominic Calvert-Lewin on this kind of form, hello Ivy, that can be a little bit of an issue. Ultimately, we kind of gotta say that Dovbyk, very likely not happening, and I will be honest, I am completely okay with that. I don't think he's necessarily the right fit for Leeds United at this moment in time. Then we've got to move on to move number 2, which is a little bit closer to home and is one that I feel a lot of people will be aware of and aware that we were linked with this guy in the past. Specifically, James McAtee has been linked through multiple different sources, all saying very, very slightly different things, but adding to a bigger story that says we may be potentially looking at making a move. So, the main source doing this sort of linking is the Daily Mail. As a general rule of thumb, I don't like the Daily Mail very much. It's a little bit of a rag, but they tend to be okay on Leeds United things. So I thought I'd have a little bit more of a look into it. And Give Me Sport, again, not the best, but occasionally they add little bits and bobs and they have a couple of sources doing bits and bobs, say that Leeds have made contact to sign James McAtee. And then you've got the YEP also reporting it, and they are saying that reports say, etc., etc. But a lot of the time when there are reports saying, and it's a load of bollocks, you will just get a tweet from Graham Smith saying that's not going to be a thing, which sort of put me onto it and made me think it was a little bit interesting. A little bit more background on McAtee, because a lot of you will know who he is. He's a former Man City Academy graduate, admittedly moved to Nottingham Forest last summer, 30 million quid, but this is where things get a little bit interesting. So far this season, he has only there you go. He has only managed to get himself 153 Premier League minutes, not scored, not gotten any assists, which, when you look at it, not fantastic. However, this season he's only really started against Sunderland, and the reason for that is the player that he is behind in the pecking order is Morgan Gibbs-White, the player that Nottingham Forest threatened to go to court to keep in the summer. So it's very, very clear to see, well, he's not likely to be starting. It feels like James McAtee is, for them, a longer term prospect. He's someone that they will keep around, give him a few minutes here and there. Admittedly, I think he had a little bit of an injury that kept him out for a while between September and sort of early November. But it's all adding up to a pattern of he's not going to be the main man this season, and he might need to get himself some minutes in order to keep developing if they are to sell Morgan Gibbs-White this summer, which is the theory, because the contract that he got that was a little bit extended, there's a chance that there's a sell-on clause, that kind of deal going on in there. Not a sell-on, what's the one? Release clause, there we go. So, they'll need McAtee in the future, they don't need McAtee now, which to me says that there is a chance of Leeds making a move and trying to do a loan. However, Again, there's an issue of interest from multiple places. Apparently, it's a little bit coming out of the Bundesliga, but the big one is Chelsea. I know, a young English promising attacking footballer, and Chelsea are interested. Say it ain't so. The thing is, Nottingham Forest would want a profit if they were to sell permanently. If they were to go on loan, they'd want minutes. So if he is going on loan, I think we're in a better spot than Chelsea, because Forest will look at the Buonanotte situation and go, well, clearly he's not playing. So why did you loan him, and why would you loan McAtee? If it's a sale, Chelsea obviously win that fight, but Forest would want a profit. So that number is going to be very, very big, and we're not in that conversation anyway. McAtee is one that I would quite like. He can play out on that right flank, he can play as a 10, but there are better options, in my opinion. And when it comes to better options, when it comes to transfers that are more likely to happen, this, for me, is the biggie. I'm just going to make sure that I get the name right and I get the club that he's at right, because it could be one of two, and I think I do know the name, but I'm going to quickly double check. A lot of people would edit this out, however, I'm currently holding a baby, which makes things a little bit difficult. There we go. Chadaille Bitshiabu, who a lot of people will have heard of, currently plays for RB Leipzig on about 50 grand a week in terms of pounds, 54,000 euros a week, is a centre-back. And he's a very, very, very big centre-back. The guy's 6'5", which is terrifying, I'll be completely honest with you. I didn't know people came in that size, but apparently they do. And he's left-footed. There is word that he could potentially be on the move. The link between RB Leipzig is one that people will obviously look at and go, oh, Leeds might be interested then. But I think it's everything about his profile that tells me that it makes sense. Currently 20 years of age, which means that he's got a lot of space to develop, which is absolutely wonderful. We need a few players that fall into that bracket, in my opinion, because otherwise in 2 or 3 years' time, we're going to have a bunch of 30-year-olds. And that is okay, but gradually those players are going to drop off. So I think a little bit of youth added into the system would be probably beneficial. Add to the fact that he's left-footed, which means that we get more left-footed players in the defence. There was a point the other day where we had a couple of players not on the pitch, and that meant that we didn't have a single left-footed player in the back line, which obviously is absolutely insane, and it means that your ability to move the ball forward is massively restricted. And then you get to his appearances. RB Leipzig, very, very competitive side. He's currently had 3 matches played this season, 113 minutes. Not a ton, but this is why I think this move might be a little bit more on right now. The road on injury is potentially going to open the door to us realising that depth there isn't great. Going to 3 at the back means that you've got right centre-back, Joe Rodon. Central centre-back, Beal. Left centre-back, Pascal Struijk. If one gets injured, you're down to Bornau. Which, sure, fine, you can deal with that, you can play Bornau, but what if someone else gets a knock? Then you're pulling Ampadu or Stack out of the midfield, which means that the rest of the team gets a little bit destructured. I think there is the perfect spot in the squad for, if we're playing 3 at the back, having a second depth centre-back and having them be someone young, and they can eventually grow into becoming a key part of the squad, like we did with Pascal Struijk when we were first in, well, not first in the Premier League, when we were last in the Premier League. I think Bitshiabu is a move that makes sense. I think it is a move that Leeds would benefit from, and ultimately, I don't really know what it'd cost, but I think it'd benefit him as well. A move to the Premier League gets a lot of eyes on you. It helps. I'm just going to see if there's any specific sort of rumours around fees and all that kind of stuff. RB Leipzig signed him for 13 million quid, which is interesting, but who knows? Apparently we're looking at a loan move rather than a permanent move. We'll find out. Ultimately, I'd quite like it permanently, but I don't know. Anyway, that was the gist of the video. Bitshiabu think is a little bit more likely than the other 2 options. McAtee, on loan, maybe. Permanently, absolutely not, because the fee would be ridiculous. Dovbyk, probably agent talk. Anyway, this was a very, very, very quick video, just to sort of cover all of that, because I saw it and I got a little bit bored. Yeah, this might come out like midday. Yeah, midday. I'm going to hit the lunch breaks, I think. But channel members see this at about 8 AM, so that's absolutely lovely. Anyway, hope you all enjoyed, and I'm holding a baby. I will see you later. Toodaloo.